Aedes vexans, the inland floodwater mosquito, is a widespread mosquito species in the United States, being capable of living in or having confirmed sighting in every state. In many cases, it is considered a pest in most of the locations where it is presented. Aedes vexans is a known vector of dog heartworm and has shown a significantly higher transmission rate for Zika virus than Aedes aegypti. This, combined with its wide geographic distribution, abundance, and aggressive human biting behavior, increase its potential to serve as a Zika virus vector in northern latitudes. Aedes vexans breeds in lower-lying areas such as drainage and irrigation ditches, as these are areas that will readily form rain-filled pools for its larvae. Aedes vexans feeds on large mammals such as cattle, pigs, and humans. Control is made difficult due to the mosquito's tendency to fly long distances from its birthplace. While not considered dangerous to humans, the prevalence of this mosquito gives Aedes vexans the potential to be very dangerous, particularly in wooded areas in or near floodplains, where adults are commonly found. This species is known to be attracted to lights, and this feature can be easily exploited when trapping for this organism. On to the life cycle. Females lay eggs after they finish a blood meal, and larvae thrive in wet, warm places such as drainage. Mosquitoes are holometabolists, meaning they go through 4 stages of life, from egg to larvae to pupae and adult. So what makes mosquitoes a suitable vector? Well, for one, they feed on blood, or at least females do. The males feed on nectar. Here's a video of mosquitoes feeding on a host. They use their long proboscis to suck the blood through their mouth parts. These mosquitoes ingest these microbes from different blood meals and can pass them directly to others. Other factors that make mosquitoes good vectors is their mobility, and in our case, with Aedes vexans, their prevalence in geographical regions of our patients. As mentioned earlier in this video, these mosquitoes travel away from their birthplace, which makes them more widespread. Now on to our patients. Our patient 0, Grace Clements. Grace Clements is a 47-year-old female with no previous illnesses. Ms. Clements travels often and spends a lot of her time outside riding her bike and walking her dogs when she can. Which can lead to exposure of mosquitoes and ticks. She also has to remove ticks from her dogs often, exposing her to more insects. She has been unresponsive to the antibiotics and antivirals and steroids, which has only worsened her condition. She also suffers from low blood pressure and fever. Our second patient, Abby Clark, is a 43-year-old female who is a pastor of Missouri Valley Church in Fremont County, Wyoming. She spends most of her time on church grounds, and she visits members of the congregation each week. She works on church projects and walks to any destination that is a few miles away from the church when it doesn't rain. On Saturdays, Clark and members of the church hold Bible studies in a garden behind the sanctuary. She reminds everyone to wear long sleeves and put a lot of mosquito repellent on due to the vectors brought on by many rainy days this spring. She only travels to attend annual pastor conferences and was set for June 15th. Now on to our third patient, Cheryl Green. Cheryl Green is a 30-year-old female who is a biology, chemistry, and zoology lab instructor at a community college. Even though the school itself is small, there were enough students in each class, and the college became extremely underfunded. They tried not to turn on the air conditioning when it was less than 95 degrees outside. This caused the rooms to be hot, and Green rolled down the windows for her students most of the time. She has not traveled anywhere recently, and she drove her car back to work because of the rainy year. Our fourth patient, Crystal Emerson. Crystal Emerson is a 14-year-old high school freshman who has a dog, 3 cats, and a guinea pig as pet. She loves spending time outdoors and also handles and takes care of a couple baby bunnies in her backyard. She usually walks to school and takes shortcuts through backyards in doing so. She does not know if she was bitten by anything recently, but says mosquitoes are constantly present. She doesn't, however, always wear mosquito repellent. Presence of ticks on the rabbits was also noticed by the mom. The pets are cleared of any insect infestations. Now on to our fifth, Deanna Cole. Deanna Cole is a homeless woman who is also a drug addict that seeked help from various Portland rescue and mission shelters. Deanna often had a pattern of going clean but then having a withdrawal that lasted a couple weeks. When she was missing for more than usual period of time, a search party was sent to find her lying near a waterfront unconscious. She was very sick and wrapped in a dirty blanket. She had heroin in her system, and the doctors believe various rashes and ulcers all across her body. She eventually passed away due to unknown infections. To our sixth patient, Landon Shaw. Landon Shaw is a 46-year-old male who is healthy and active. He is a tennis coach and spends most of his time outside training his students. A week or so before his symptoms arose, the weather was rainy and he had spent time with his students outside a lot and did complain of fighting off mosquitoes, flies, and ticks. Mr. Shaw has not traveled anywhere outside of Burberry and has never had any severe illnesses before. On to our seventh patient, Mara Woods. Mara Woods is a 1-year-old female who is unvaccinated and has spent a lot of time outside with her mom. Her mother walks her around the neighborhood without any bug spray or protectant. She has not traveled outside of Olympia. On to our eighth patient, Doug Naylor. Doug Naylor was a 59-year-old male who lived in Minnesota and who was admitted to St. Joseph Medical Center after suffering an attack on June 21st. He traveled within the United States for business, mainly to New York and Los Angeles, California, each only once a year. In early June, he went to LA, California for 2 weeks, where he would walk along watersheds and wildlife preserves. After walking, he had to remove ticks from his body and found some painful mosquito bites. Naylor often spent time on his back porch writing where many mosquitoes, gnats, and biting insects, and would also take a walk along the lake where he lived. He said after a while he got used to the bugs biting him and didn't notice when they did. On to the ninth patient, Hope Graham. Hope Graham was a 31-year-old female who was admitted to Bucktail Medical Center on July 25th in Renovo, Pennsylvania, after suffering an attack on July 22nd. Graham worked at the Super State Park and also lived in the Rangers. On to our 10th patient, Frank Hollister. Frank Hollister was a 41 male who lived in the mountains of Colorado. He was admitted to Salida Hospital on May 8th after an attack on May 5th. He hardly ever left the mountain except for once a year when he would drive to Denver for the weekend. He would always hunt for his food and grew or foraged for herbs. He spent most of his time outdoors. They are all in a reasonable geographic range that resembles the geographic range of our vector, Aedes vexans. Now on to our reservoir, the Lepus genus of rabbits, also known as jackrabbits. Jackrabbits are prevalent in the United States area, especially the species of Lepus californicus, also known as the black-tailed jackrabbit. They are common in the United States and Mexico, and one of their common names is the American desert hare. Another common jackrabbit in this area is a Lepus townsendii, also known as a white-tailed jackrabbit. They are more common in the northern parts of the United States and southern Canada. Jackrabbits reproduce often in large quantities, and they peak in the springtime and summertime. They are seen in suburban areas often and have contact with domestic animals, and those animals have contact with humans. This transaction chain can make it easy for diseases to be transmitted to humans. The geographical location of these reservoir hosts corresponds with the location of patients infected with this disease. These patients also had contact with domestic animals that may have led to contact with these jackrabbits, therefore transmitting this disease. Now on to the disease agent and the disease itself, which is called Mosquito-Borne rabbit myositosis. We concluded after observing disease symptoms and morphology, the disease agent is identified to be an unknown Staphylococcus species. From the result of grain stain, the agent was determined to be gram-positive cocci due to purple coloration and circular physical shape. The genome size was determined to be 5.02. This was done by using genome size of Escherichia coli, which was 5.14. The red pi Florence channel graph against time was given for Escherichia coli to be 173.32, and the unknown was 169.82. Staphylococcus has various antibiotics that can be effectual, but some are resistant as well. Gram-positive bacteria are also aerobic, meaning they require oxygen to function. Staphylococcus are usually 0.5 to 1 in diameter, and they usually grow in clusters and short chains. Isolation and identification of Staphylococcus is done using streaking methods, using agar plates and incubation. The cultures are grown in broth, and several areas of the field should be investigated carefully. Some of these major diseases caused by staph are skin issues. This includes boils, furnaces, styes, impetigo, and other superficial skin infections in humans. The control plan to reduce the population of these vectors, therefore reducing the incidence of the mosquito-borne rabbit myositosis, consists of 4 different parts. The first being insecticide deployment. In any new outbreak areas, the location will be surveyed to find pools of brackish water, and surveillance traps will then be placed around those identified pools. The trap we will be using a light/CO2 combination trap. We'll take advantage of the mosquitoes' attraction to heat and carbon dioxide. We will use New Jersey light traps, which consist of battery-powered motor and light, a downward draft fan, and mesh collection bag and collection cup. The next control plan is public awareness. Our public education program involves collaborating with local news stations, police departments, and newspapers to inform the public of the dangers of mosquito-borne rabbit myositosis. Our plan to control the disease and methods the public can use to remain disease-free. Every household in the affected area will receive pamphlets from the CDC. In these pamphlets, they will find important information regarding modes of contraction, and common symptoms of the disease. The symptoms of the disease, which range from fever, coma, and death, will be emphasized to make sure residents of the most affected areas take the problem seriously. The next control plan being Perinthians insecticide. The natural insecticide known as Perinthians are produced from a certain species of Chrysanthemum plant. They contain poisons to infiltrate the nerves of an insect. Even though these are organic, they could still do moderate harm to mammals and household pets. Larvicides is the last one, and it can come in many forms, but they're applied to areas where mosquitoes can lay eggs, in buckets, fountains, pools, etc. And the last being vaccines. We have developed a vaccination against infectious polymyositis for prevention of the mosquito-borne rabbit myositosis. The vaccine will be dead or inactivated, which are considered safer and more stable than live vaccines. This is because in this form, the pathogen is killed and is not able to mutate back into a disease-causing microbe. Any setbacks? With any plan, setbacks are given. Some setbacks that we predict will be implementing our control protocol. Problems may arise. These problems can include delays in implementation of full larviciding and adulticiding due to the public barricades or poor weather. Another problem that may arise will be quantity of resources available. Another being public concern over the safety of the vaccine will almost definitely be an issue, and the best way to counteract this will be to put even more emphasis on our public information campaign and collaborations with doctors to explain public safety of the vaccine. By implementing our control plan, we'll be able to reduce the population of these mosquitoes, therefore reducing the incidence of mosquito-borne rabbit myositosis. Thank you for watching, and be careful out there.